This is Part 2 Episode 144. Xiao Yan's shoulders shook as he watched Yao Hua Liangjun rushing over explosively. Green-red bone wings appeared. Both of the wings were flapped and his body rushed towards the sky. That frightening speed directly caused Yao Hua Liangjun's attack to completely miss. What a fast speed! Yao Hua Liangjun's expression changed slightly after he missed. Immediately, his eyes looked at Xiao Yan, who was suspended in the sky, in an icy cold manner. He spoke indifferently, "Does Yao Chen only teach you how to run? There is no need for you to be worried about this." Xiao Yan smiled. He waved his sleeve and 11 puppets appeared in a flash. A formation was created. After the energy transmission, the Sky Demon puppet's body quickly became brilliant in color. Demon puppet Hua Jin, you should go and seal with Yun Yun. Leave this brat to me. A disdain flashed across Yao Hua Liangjun's eyes when he saw this puppet. He turned his head towards Hua Jin and cried out. Understood. Hua Jin nodded. She immediately turned her cold smiling eyes towards Yun Yun. Her strength was around that of a 4-star Dozun, while Yun Yun was merely a 1-star Dozun. There was a huge gap between the two. Finishing off the latter was merely something that would end within a couple of exchanges. Slut, this chief shall see just which part of you have caught the eye of that old woman. A jealous hatred flashed across Hua Jin's eyes. She turned her delicate waist and directly rushed over towards Yun Yun. Majestic Do Chi surged out in all directions. Golden light tore through the sky. Before that Hua Jin could appear in front of Yun Yun, a strong figure had descended from the sky. A fist that contained a terrifying wind smashed towards the former's head without any mercy. Clang! This sudden fight also caused Hua Jin's expression to change a little. A wave of Do Chi erupted from her palm and violently collided with that golden fist. Immediately, clear metallic collision sound appeared. Puppet! The frightening force caused Hua Jin to be shaken until she took 2 continuous steps back. She swept her eyes across and focused them onto the golden figure in front of her. Hua Jin, you should just focus on dealing with that puppet. I will capture this brat first. That puppet will automatically stop after that. Yao Hua Liangjun in the sky turned his dense cold eyes towards Xiao Yan in the midair. The foldable fan on his hand suddenly unleashed a deep green light. The fan was waved and one could hear a wild wind spreading over the sky. Enormous wind blades tore past the sky and rushed towards Xiao Yan from all directions. Xiao Yan smiled faintly as he watched those wind blades rushing over. The bone wings on his back flapped and his frightening speed allowed him to pull back by 1,000 feet, easily dodging Yao Hua Liangjun's attack in the process. With the 3,000 lightning movement activated to its limit along with the strengthening by the bone wings, Xiao Yan's speed had already reached quite a frightening level. This battle must end quickly. Xiao Yan slowly inhaled a deep breath of air when he dodged the attack by Yao Hua Liangjun. Both of his hands suddenly formed numerous unusual seals. While his hand seals flew, numerous hot fire pillars also shot out from his body towards the sky. Skyfire 3 mysterious change. First change. Second change. Third change. 3 stern cries sounded. Xiao Yan's aura had directly soared in front of many stunned gazes. Within a blink of an eye, it had already reached the 4-star Dozun level. After unleashing the Skyfire 3 mysterious change until its limit, Xiao Yan did not halt immediately. His hand was clenched. 3 clusters of flames appeared within his hand. Soon after, he hesitated for a moment before opening his mouth and spitting out a cluster of dense white flame. The appearance of 4 types of heavenly flame in the sky also caused the temperature of this entire place to be raised instantly. Some cold perspiration had appeared on the faces of quite a number of people. Even Do Chi was unable to completely isolate such a temperature. Yao Hua Liangjun's expression changed a little when he saw the 4 types of heavenly flames suspended in front of Xiao Yan. Finally, he felt a little uneasy. With his eyesight, he was naturally able to tell that these 4 types of flames were definitely the most terrifying heaven flames in this world. However, the thing that surprised him was that Xiao Yang's body could actually possess 4 types of heavenly flames at the same time. Was it not the case that only one of such thing could exist within a person's body? I cannot continue to allow this little brat to continue unleashing it. Yao Liangjun did not plan to give Xiao Yang any time to prepare despite his uncertainty. Light erupted from the fan in his hand. His body was suddenly enlarged by a couple of times. Both of his hands held the fan and violently swung it in the air. Great splitting wind. The cry had just sounded when numerous dark black crack lines were immediately formed on the space in front of the large fan. These crack lines were just like invisible spatial poisonous snakes. They rushed out through the empty space with lightning-like speed before finally headed towards Xiao Yang in the distance in a ruthless manner. Xiao Yang was unconcerned with the attack by Yao Liangjun. His bone wings were flapped continuously. Numerous after-images were suspended in the sky. That actual body of his was hidden under the after-image, causing Yao Liangjun's attack to be unable to find a target. During the time that Xiao Yang was dodging, the 4 types of heavenly flames in front of Xiao Yang also rapidly merged together. With his current ability, there were only 2 ways for him to end this battle quickly. It was either the Annihilation Lotus Flame, or the Great Heaven Creation Palm. From the perspective of the current Xiao Yang, who could easily control the bone-chilling flame, the former was undoubtedly an easier option. This was because he would no longer require a long time to brew before unleashing it like before. The fire cluster continued to swell and shrink in Xiao Yang's palm. Wave after wave of unusually wild and violent how energy also slowly spread, causing the energy of the entire world to become violent. Yao Liangjun, who had sensed this scene, finally changed his expression drastically. From the appearance of this manner of his, everyone knew that Xiao Yang was preparing a great killing weapon. Do you only know how to hide? Although he was aware that Xiao Yang was preparing a great killing weapon, Yao Liangjun was completely unable to compare with the former's speed. Immediately, his face became usually green as he roared furiously. However, Xiao Yang completely ignored his furious roar. He split his attention. On one hand, he was dodging Yao Liangjun's attack. On the other, he was agglomerating the fire lotus and maintaining its equilibrium. Quite a number of elders from the flower sect faced each other, as they looked at the endless chase in the sky. Although the strength of Yao Liangjun surpassed Xiao Yang, he was still fooled by the latter until his face turned ashen. With their eyesight, they were naturally able to tell that Xiao Yang was gathering an extremely frightening energy in his hand. Should this energy completely explode, it was likely that Yao Liangjun would end up in quite a miserable state even with his strength. He is indeed worthy of being Yao Chen's disciple. By relying on a 2-star Dozun strength, he is actually able to cause a 6-star elite Dozun to be helpless. Yun on the square also had a startled expression on her face, as she watched the after-images that repeatedly flashed and appeared in the sky as well as the furious roar of Yao Liangjun. It was difficult to imagine that the latter was actually unable to deal with Xiao Yang, given his strength. This fellow has improved really quickly. Yun softly muttered. Her expression was a little complicated. When she met Xiao Yang for the first time, the latter was merely a youth who had just advanced to the dosha class. Yet, that small dosha from back then currently already possessed the ability to fool an elite 6-star Dozun. Bastard. Yao Chen has really lose his face in having a disciple like you. The chase continued for nearly 10 minutes. Yao Liangjun, who had gained nothing, had a face that was so gloomy that it was terrifying. A roar continued to resound across the sky. This manner of which he had lost himself caused quite a number of flower sect disciples to secretly extend their tongues. It was unexpected that this elegant and refined Yao Liangjun would actually be this terrifying when he was angry. Xiao Yang, who had never stopped in the sky, suddenly halted. His eyes were indifferent as he watched the roaring Yao Liangjun. He smiled slightly and softly said, "Have you had enough chasing? If that is the case, it will be my turn." After uttering those words, the cluster of flame in Xiao Yang's palm churned slowly. Immediately, a palm-sized exquisite fire lotus slowly surfaced from within the cluster of flame. The moment the fire lotus appeared, the energy of this entire place emitted a buzzing sound and shook. Wave after wave of destructive aura spread out from within the fire lotus, causing the space around Xiao Yan to break amidst some cracking sound. What frightening energy! Upon sensing the terror of this energy, the expressions of those elders from the flower sect changed. They hurriedly beckoned with their hands. Do Qi spluttered out. Immediately, they joined hands and built an unusually strong Do Qi barrier around the square. The frightening amount of energy within the fire lotus was also sensed by Yaohe Liangjun. Immediately, his face became extremely ugly. Although he was also aware that Xiao Yang was preparing a great killing weapon, he did not expect that this great killing weapon would actually reach such a level. That kind of annihilation energy caused even him to be afraid. How is this possible? This brat only possessed the strength of a 2-star Dozun. Even though he had used a secret technique, he is merely at the 4-star level. How is it possible that he can unleash an attack of this level? Brat, you should not be so pleased this soon. This venerable self is not someone easy to deal with. Yaohe Liangjun clenched his teeth tightly. His expression was gloomy. A moment later, he inhaled a deep breath of air and halted his chasing figure. Seals were swiftly formed by his hand. Majestic Do Qi surged out explosively from within his body. Immediately, it gathered into 1,000 feet large giant. This giant was completely formed using Do Qi. Vast and might Do Qi flowed endlessly like an ocean. Profound sky technique, Qi world transformation. Yaohe Liangjun's face turned pale when the giant was formed. Clearly, this act had consumed quite a terrifying amount of Do Qi. Although his expression was terrible, his gaze was unusually vicious as it stared at Xiao Yang. A somewhat hoarse, dense cry was emitted from his throat. This venerable self shall just watch whether the fire lotus that you have created after fleeing around like a rabbit for half a day, or this venerable self's Qi world transformation is superior. The 1,000 feet giant stood in the sky. An ocean-like vast and mighty Do Qi spread from within the body of the giant. It appeared just like a thick cloud, wind lightning rolled while it swallowed and released. Ha! Yaohe Liangjun's face was pale. However, both of his eyes were completely dark and dense. His gaze locked onto Xiao Yang in the sky as his throat suddenly emitted a low cry. Go and die. The seal formed by Yaohe Liangjun's hand changed. The giant that stood in the sky suddenly strided forward. Following this step, a wild wind immediately blew across the entire sky. Cloud churned. Even the sky itself had fluctuated. Bang! The giant stepped forward. Its large hand appeared to firmly grab onto the naturally energy. Immediately, a shocking bright intense glow erupted on his fist. His large hand was swung and the space immediately split apart. Frightening wind mercilessly smashed violently towards Xiao Yang in the distant sky. This punch from the giant appeared to carry the natural energy. A ferocious hurricane formed on his hand. Even the square on the ground had formed some thick crack lines because of this pressure. Such a shocking attack was indeed worthy of a 6-star Dozun class expert. Under the giant that was filled with an endless amount of pressure, quite a number of weaker flower sect's disciples had pale faces. A battle of this level was something that they seldom saw. That frightening attack, that could easily destroy an entire mountain range, caused their hearts to tremble. This Yaohe Liangjun has also used all of his strength. Some elders of the flower sect felt quietly awed in their hearts, while they continued to add Do Qi to the defense when they saw this. It was unexpected that Xiao Yang was actually able to force Yaohe Liangjun to such an extent with his 2-star Dozun strength. He was indeed worthy of being Yao Chen's disciples. Yun revealed a worry on her beautiful face as she stood on the square. Although her heart believed in Xiao Yang's strength, no one could remain calm in the face of this full-force attack by Yaohe Liangjun. Xiao Yang's figure was suspended in the sky. The bone wings on his back flapped. That powerful wind pressure that was transmitted over from a great distance firmly pressed his robe until it adhered onto his body. That rushing wind sound rumbled like a thunder beside his ear, seemingly intending on shattering his eardrum. This is the full force attack of a 6-star dose on her. Xiao Yan gently exhaled. A glint flashed across his eyes as he softly muttered to himself. Immediately, he slowly raised his hand and the palm-sized annihilation fire lotus slowly rotated. This tiny exquisite lotus flower contained a true destructive force. Go. Xiao Yang smiled slightly as he raised his hand. The fire lotus in it rushed out and immediately formed a beautiful fire tail in the mid-air as it charged towards the seemingly unmatched giant. Break it. Yao Liangjun did not dare to slight the fire lotus when he saw it flashing over. His hand seal changed and the giant immediately roared towards the sky. A frightening sonic wave spread and directly formed a giant hurricane. That enormous hand was clenched and it actually forcefully grabbed the hurricane. After which, it took a large stride forward in front of everyone's shocked eyes, swung the hurricane, and violently smashed towards the seemingly rice grain-like fire lotus. The two collided and a momentary silence occurred. It was as though the entire world had stilled at this moment. The silence lasted for an instant before an earth-shaking explosion finally resounded over the sky in an abrupt manner. That furious thunder-like explosion shook the entire mountain range. Soon after the explosion, a firestorm swept over the sky. Under the raging firestorm, that 100-feet-large giant was also torn until Do-chi surged like a water pillar. However, these Do-chi had just made contact with the firestorm when it was vaporized by the frightening high temperature into nothingness. Bang! The firestorm heavily collided onto the body of the giant. The vast and mighty Do-chi that was on his body also began to swiftly disappear. Bang! Xiao Yang inhaled a deep breath of hot air. His body rushed backwards and a sharp cry was emitted from his mouth. Following this cry, the firestorm that was filled with a destructive force finally completely exploded at this moment. Bang! The frightening firestorm smashed heavily onto the giant's body. An incomparably strong force directly caused the giant to continuously step backwards. Even his body had vaguely become illusory. Bang bang! The fire wave that contained a destructive strength continuously spread apart. Terrifying high temperature directly caused all the moisture in this place to vaporize. Under the continuous attack by the fire wave, the giant's body also became increasingly illusory. At the end, it was finally exploded and turned into nothingness under this muffled sound. How is this possible? The giant was blasted apart, and a mouthful of fresh blood was spat out from Yao Liangjuan's mouth. A disbelief surged within his eyes. However, he did not have any time to be shocked at this moment. The fire wave that contained a destructive force had came rushing over with lightning-like speed after forcing back the giant. If he was struck by it, it was likely Yao Liangjun would instantly be annihilated. Yao Liangjun suppressed the shock within his heart. He clenched his teeth and circulated his Do-chi. His body transformed into a lightning that suddenly withdrew explosively. Yao Liangjuan's speed was extremely quick. Within the blink of an eye, he had already broken through the Do-chi barrier around the square. That fire wave also followed closely behind in front of the shocked gazes from the many flower sect's elders. Finally, it violently collided onto the barrier. Bang! The enormous defensive barrier shook violently. Ripples spread rapidly. Fortunately, it did not collapse immediately. Those elders from the flower sect were just about to sigh in relief after seeing this when another destructive fire wave spread. It heavily struck onto the Do-chi barrier like an enormous hammer. Crack! This time around, the Do-chi barrier had finally reached its limit. The barrier exploded amidst a cracking sound. Having lost the obstruction of the Do-chi barrier, the fire wave spread apart without any fear. Seeing this scene, the faces of those flower sect's disciples around the square immediately turned pale. However, when the fire wave was about to spread across the enormous square, an elderly sigh slowly resounded over the sky. Immediately, a figure suddenly appeared in a flash. She waved her sleeve and an invisible ripple spread. Finally, the ripple collided with the fire wave. The two energies eroded each other before slowly being destroyed. First Elder. Seeing this figure, who had suddenly intervened, the faces of some of the elders from the flower sect revealed a joyous expression. Xiao Yan, are you planning to destroy my flower sect? That white-haired old woman, who had suddenly appeared in the sky, looked towards Xiao Yang in the distance and spoke somewhat helplessly. The pale-faced Xiao Yang was somewhat embarrassed when he heard this. He could sense the frightening strength of this white-haired old woman. Immediately, he ceased daring to act impudent. He cupped in his hands together and said, "The situation leaves me with no choice. I hope that Elder will not blame me." After uttering these words, he took out a couple of medicinal pills from his storage ring and stuffed them into his mouth. Subsequently, he turned his eyes towards Hua Jin. At this moment, the latter's face was filled with horror. The eyes, which she used to look at Xiao Yang, appeared as though they had seen a ghost. She had never expected that Xiao Yang would actually be able to unleash a frightening attack that even Yaohua Liangjun was unable to receive. Yaohua Liangjuan's miserable figure had once again rushed back from the distance. His expression was dark and gloomy as he stood in the sky. It was still possible to see a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth. He understood that he had already left the area of the square and had lost the right to compete. In other words, he, Yaohua Lianjuan, was defeated in the hands of a mere two-star Dozun in front of so many people today. The corner of Yaohua Liangjuan's mouth twitched slightly. His face was so gloomy that it was frightening. Those gazes that were shot over from all over the place were just like needles that pierced into him, causing his entire body to feel terrible. Xiao Yang glanced at Yaohua Liangjun in the distance from the sky. He ignored the latter and slowly landed from the sky. Without saying anything, he glanced at Hua Jin a short distance away, and rubbed his hands in front of him. 4 heavenly flames once again appeared in front of him. I admit defeat. Seeing the 4 types of flames appearing once again, the originally pale expression of Hua Jin turned ghastly white. Even Yaohua Liangjun, someone with a 6-star Dozun strength, was unable to receive it. If she was at the receiving end, it was likely that she would not even be able to escape. Hence, she hurriedly screamed. Xiao Yang smiled faintly upon hearing her scream. He opened his mouth and swallowed the 4 types of heavenly flames into his body. With his current strength, he did not possess the ability to continuously use the Annihilation Fire Lotus twice. It appeared that this woman was frightened by Yaohua Lianjuan's fate. The many elders from the flower sect shook their heads slightly when they saw Hua Jin admit defeat. The match today was really a joke. A 4-star Dozun and a 6-star Dozun were defeated in the hands of a 2-star Dozun. If this matter was to spread, it would really be a source of a joke. I have not disappointed. Xiao Yang turned his head. He looked towards Yunyun, who had widened her red lips and had a stunned expression on her pretty face. After which, he coughed softly and laughed. You still like to act bravely. Yunyun watched Xiao Yang's face that also contained a paleness. She involuntarily glared at him. Her tone had some reprimand and a different kind of joy. That first elder from the flower sect in the sky also gently sighed. His eyes turned towards Hua Jin and spoke faintly, "Since you have lost, hand the jade token of the chief to Yunyun." Hua Jin's hand was immediately clenched tightly when she heard this. However, she could not eat her words in public. Immediately, she could only clench her teeth, and took out the jade token from her storage ring before ruthlessly throwing it towards Yunyun. The first elder of the flower sect turned her eyes towards Yunyun. She smilingly said, "I trust the eyes of the previous chief. Yunyun, in the future, you will be the next chief of the flower sect." This video will end here.